Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Ute Dash. My name is Cole Bagley and I'm your host for today's show. I'm joined by the lovely Sammy Mora, editor for the Daily Utah Chronicle Sports Desk. How are you, Sammy?
I'm great. Camp Kyle, first full day of pads. We're back with Ute Dash. Camp Kyle's back. Football's back. Good.
It is a great day. Sammy, we've been off for a few weeks, but I'm especially excited for today's show as we have a very special guest, a young man who very well may be the future prospect for the U. However, it might not be until about 2038. But Sammy, let me introduce you to the reason we were out last week. My son, Bowen Bagley.
Yay! Let's go.
This is a Utah man if I ever saw one. He's already looking strong. He weighs 8 pounds, 5 ounces, super solid. Someone the coaching staff is going to want to keep their eye on. But yeah, Sammy, what do you think? You see his shoes, his little shoes, and his onesie?
He's great. Perfect. Future offensive player for the University of Utah football team.
Hopefully one day. But for now, just with that on the show. And shout out to his mom for letting him be on today. His first guest appearance. Hopefully many more to come.
That's actually a really, really good transition into our first topic today. We're going to give a little recruiting update, talk about the future of Utah football. So a lot has happened with Utah's recruiting since we last checked in with them. It was in August, I think, or September when we last checked in with them. But there's been some movement. So we've had 4 or 5 commits in the last little bit. One of the biggest ones we got was Mason Tofuga, the 4-star linebacker from St. Louis High School in Hawaii. He's the number 2 player in the state. We beat out Arizona State, Colorado, Nebraska, Oregon, USC, South Carolina. Huge get for the program. Solid pick, and also going to help that depth at linebacker. I'm really high on him. I think he's going to be great.
What would you say his greatest strengths are, Sammy? What's got you so excited about this kid?
His size. I like his size a lot. He's 6'1", 210. He can bulk up a little bit more, but his size is something that I really like, and I think he's going to fit in perfect with this Utah football defense. Then we also have Veltroy Jefferson, the 3-star athlete from Fresno. We beat out, again, Arizona State, Arizona, a lot of these Pac-12 powerhouses, but also Tennessee. We beat him. Fun fact, he was originally a USC commit before he decommitted and flipped his commitment to Utah. He's most likely going to play on the defensive side of the ball for the Utes, but it looks pretty good having him in this class as well. He's number 48 athlete in the country. He's a freak.
What do you think has got what's giving Utah the edge over some of these other schools, especially with stealing somebody like this from a school like USC? How is Utah able to do that?
I think it's just buying into the process. We've talked about this before. Utah's great at putting players into the NFL, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I think these kids are buying into this process and are really, really loving it. Also, this coaching staff is fantastic. You have, in your corners, you're going to be playing under Sharif Shaw. Your safeties, you got Morgan Scally. If you're linebackers, you're playing under Colton Swan. You have a really, really good defensive coaching staff. And knock on wood, Utah hasn't had a lot of turnover in that defensive coaching staff. And it's paying off because they're able to lock these kids in because they're like, hey, look, Jalen Johnson playing on Sundays, that could be you.
Yeah, I think for sure, Sammy. I think you hit it right there. Utah's producing NFL defensive players. They're showing that they can take guys who aren't necessarily super top level prospects. 3 and 4 stars. We're not talking 5, but 3 and 4 stars, and sometimes even 2. And they're taking them to the next level. They're getting them drafted, and these guys are performing on Sundays. Jalen Johnson, Julian Blackman, their names have been in the news for the NFL the last few Sundays. It's not just once here and there, a lucky play. No, the last 3 or 4 Sundays, we're hearing about these guys, these rookies out of Utah every single week. And so that is really, to me, is what is making the difference as far as recruiting, especially on the defensive end. Look at all these great defensive players that we're bringing in.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest selling point is that Utah has is buying into the process and buying into the fact that that could be you playing on Sundays next, like in the future. But on the flip side, also got a big wide receiver commit, Damiccio Nathan. He's a 3-star wide receiver from Texas. He's the number 150 in the nation. We beat out Arizona, Boise State, BYU, Houston, San Diego State, and Texas Tech for him. Last year, he accounted for 800 yards from scrimmage and 6 touchdowns.
Jeez.
800 yards? Okay, I understand that the touchdown to, like, yard ratio is a little off, but 800 yards.
Well, it reminds me.
You can imagine him catching a pass from, like, Bentley next year, or Cam Rising, or even Cooper Justice, or Peter Costelli. I'm sold.
Well, you need guys like that. I mean, you look at Britton Covey 2 years ago in 2018. The guy had a crazy amount of yards. I think over 500 yards, but only, I think, 1 touchdown pass. And it may have not even been any. You need guys like that can catch. I mean, there's 100 yards on the field. The end zones account for a very small amount. They're the most important, but you need guys to take you from one end to the other to get you into that end zone and set up plays where you can, punch it in with a running back, or maybe hit Brandon Keithy for, one of those solid tight end plays to get to the end zone, a corner route. But that is very encouraging to see somebody who understands, I have to be the guy that gets us to the end zone. I don't necessarily need to be the guy that's catching the ball in the end zone.
Exactly. And then the last one that we want to touch on this week, or this time we talk about recruiting, is Darien Stewart. He's a 3-star safety from Las Vegas. He's the number 7 player in the state of Nevada. Utah joined late in the game in his recruiting process, but we were still able to reel him in. We beat out UCLA and Boise State for him. I think that this is good. I've never worry about who the defensive coaches, or even the coaches in general. I don't worry about who they bring in, because they're able to find that talent, and find it and bring it into Utah. Whether it's 3 stars, 4 stars, 2 stars, no stars, they're able to find that pure talent on the field and bring it to Utah and translate it into a college level athlete. So again, this is just Utah doing Utah. They're just bringing the 3 and the 4-star recruits, and they're going to make them pretty good quality players.
Yeah, that's one thing that Utah is so good at doing is they don't need those 5-star recruits. They don't need tons of 4-star recruits. A few here and there, but 3 stars, I feel like that's kind of where we find the diamonds in the rough. We find those guys that maybe necessarily didn't turn a lot of heads at some of the more top programs like Alabama, LSU, some of those other places. And we take them and we make them great, and we turn them into stars on our team. And so that's what I love to see. We look at these recruiting reports, and I just don't worry about what kind of level they are. I mean, I see him and I'm like, all right, I trust Coach Witt. He's going to do his thing, and this guy's going to be great.
Trust the process. And usually a lot of Utah's classes are usually 3-star recruits. And sometimes people are like, oh God, are we not going to get 4 stars? We bring in the 4-star recruits. Tofuga's a 4-star. Peter Costelli's a 4-star. We had Clark Phillips last year, who was a high 4-star. We bring them in, but it's not Utah's brand to bring in these high 4-star recruits. It's their brand to bring in 3 stars and turn them into potentially first-round draft picks. But last thing I'm going to add on this topic of recruiting is tomorrow is actually a pretty big day for Utah in terms of recruiting. One of the top tight end prospects that Utah's going after, Isaac Baja from Pleasant Grove School here in Salt Lake, he's committing tomorrow at 4 p.m. So Utah made his top 7 along with Penn State, UCLA, ASU, Washington, Oregon, and BYU. If Utah can land him, I think this will start. This will continue a long lineage of really solid tight ends that Utah has.
Well, Sammy, I tweeted at him, so I think that improved our chances. I think.
Oh yeah, totally.
That may have locked it.
Booted it up.
Well,
locked him in with a tweet.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully, this kid will be wearing a drum and feather here soon.